Tracking a chance for our midweek rain and snow, as well as an ongoing flood warning. We're going to unpack it all as we get going on a new work and school week. I'm ABC 10 Chief Meteorologist Monica was looking at some of our weather impacts this week. As far as the short-term forecast, we're dealing with patchy fog. The weather system we're going to be tracking is off here in the Pacific, and that's what's going to bring us just a brief chance of a quick hitting shower for the valley. Some lingering snow showers, though, for the Sierra. So we'll continue to show you those extended forecasts on ABC 10 Plus. Make sure you check it out. Download it wherever you stream for free on TV. We've got weather explainers as well as climate specials. Check it out on ABC 10 Plus. Here's a look at that flood warning, and it's just off to the west of Sacramento. It's along the Yolo Causeway here. Just underneath, we're seeing some flooding, and that's because of the weirs being open. Free-flowing weirs that are just taking the pressure off of upstream river levels. As you can see, Yellow Bypass is starting to come down right now at Lisbon, so we are going to see some of those waters receding somewhat as we head throughout the week, despite the fact we see that incoming system. It's not a big hitter. It's just going to give us some nuisance showers for the middle of our week. Our flood protection is set up with a series of weirs upstream from Sacramento, just kind of taking the pressure off of some higher flows for larger metropolitan areas. So most of them are free flowing. The only one that's manually operated is the Sacramento weir. What we've got at Lisbon is kind of the downstream effects of that. So the Yolo Bypass just heads underneath the Yolo Causeway here, and that's the road that goes off to the Bay Area or incoming to downtown Sacramento. So you might see some water underneath the causeway there for at least the next several days. River stages, though, they are starting to recede. So we're at the action monitor stage, down from above minor flood stage along the Sacramento River. So everything kind of in the yellow here instead of the orange when we were seeing some of those higher flows coming in. As far as what we're seeing in the short term, again, cloud cover and some patchy fog early tomorrow. Quick hitting system on Wednesday. It's not really the brunt of this system. We're just being brushed with the tail end of it. So right around the mid-morning hours is when we expect to see a quick moving shower through the capital region and towards north of I-80. A few spotty showers then through the early afternoon for the northern San Joaquin Valley, but the snow kind of sticking around for that 80-50 corridor for the Tahoe Basin. 88 and 89 also slightly impacted by that. We'll see the back edge of this move through during the evening, so additional snow accumulation, which won't be much, will be seen, though, later on Wednesday. As far as rainfall, it's going to be less than 1/10 of an inch to 1/4 of an inch north of I-80 here. We're not expecting much in the way of accumulating rain through the northern San Joaquin Valley. So again, that quick hitting dose of rain, not a big precipitation producer for us in the valley, and not so much for the Sierra either, considering that we saw feet of snow late last week, only an additional 1 to 3 inches expected by the middle of the week. We saw a great February, though, and we needed it because January was so terribly dry. Some of the bigger days that we saw here, we're back on the 4th, over 1.5 inches of rain in a 24-hour period. And last Thursday, we saw 1.25 inches. Just a little bit of precipitation on Sunday. Again, a quick hitting system brought us 1/100th of an inch of rain, but that still is keeping us above average. Normally, for the entire month, we have 3.63 inches of rain. We're going to end up above that average for the month. But again, it was well needed because we had such a dry January, which happens to be our wettest month historically for the year. We had a pretty good start to the water year, so all things considered, we are right on target for where we should be this time of year. A precipitation tracker for downtown Sacramento showing that. This month, there's that 4.13 inches of rain, putting us 2 inches ahead of what we normally see at this point in the month. And for the season, again, we should have 12.13 inches of rain, and that's exactly what we've had. Our water year, by the way, runs from October 1st last year through September 30th of this year. This is what the statewide precipitation tracker looks like, and for the most part, those early season storms benefiting Northern California, the path there really showed the significant difference, where Eureka has about 33 inches of rain. Compare that to San Diego at 1.27. Now, that being said, we all know that Northern California receives much more precipitation historically year to year than Southern California, but we also take a look at the deficits, and you can see they have continued to show deficits in Southern California. Northern California, again, benefiting primarily from early season storms, got a real jump start on those precipitation totals, and even with a dry January, we caught back up in February. One caveat, though, it does look like we're going to be in for a drying out period here for the rest of February. I'll look at our major reservoir supply levels because when it boils down to it, what do we have during the dry season? Because we're on the cusp of kind of entering into a drier phase of the year. And all of our major water supply levels are above average, about 80 to almost 85% full at this point. And the same goes for the Central Sierra, starting to fill up. We're starting to see many of those reservoirs that were not really benefiting from those storms coming up, particularly Millerton is now up above 50% and 87% of average. So that's some really good news coming in from these recent February storms. One thing about the snow water equivalent for this year, they haven't updated the numbers since last Thursday. So these numbers are sitting prior to those bigger numbers that came in from that storm last Thursday and Friday. But all that being said, we're still looking pretty good here with our statewide average at 81% to date. April 1st average is 58%. And that April 1st date, if you haven't joined us before, is very important because that's the point where we start to see more in the way of snow melt and less in the way of snowfall. Our snowpack and that snow water equivalent amounts to about a third of our water supply in California. This week, we've got basically a quick moving shower on Wednesday. That's the day that we have the nuisance showers. But outside of that, just tracking some patchy morning fog on Tuesday, then partly sunny skies. Thursday, we're sunny and near average, but by Friday, we're talking about our warming trend underway, which will put us well above average into next week. A look at our future visibility for tonight through early tomorrow. Some patchy fog mainly on the east side of the valley, but particularly problematic for the areas south of Highway 50 through the northern San Joaquin Valley. That's going to run right along Highway 99. And be a bit more difficult to navigate for that morning commute. It doesn't stick around all that long because we have some high-level cloud cover coming in on the beginning edges of that next storm system making its approach here. It's going to be more impactful for the Pacific Northwest than, say, through Northern California. But nonetheless, one of those days, keep the umbrella handy, quick-moving shower coming through, and then some bigger lingering impacts for the Sierra in terms of what we're going to be seeing in that storm system. So some better accumulation for this year, certainly north of I-80. High pressure ridge built in after that, and it's all going to be about the warming and drying trend underway. As you can see, look at this departure from normal. We've been sitting in that cooler air mass, which helped to bring those snow levels down. But then we head into our Saturday forecast, and that's where we're jumping well above average statewide, north to south here, especially through the Central Sierra and parts of the Mother Lode. We'll be seeing some pretty warm temperatures. Again, this is the point when we start to see we're on the cusp of that drier and warmer weather as a high pressure ridge will build in over the course of the summer months. So we really just don't see much in the way of wet weather. That storm track really becomes much more amplified into the Pacific Northwest and through Canada. Our precipitation average is about 2.82 for the month of March. Now, we have seen miracle Marches that bump us up above that average. But given where we're sitting right now, Northern California, we could take an average March in April and then really dry out and we'd be okay. Southern California, we really need to get some of that rain going because that fire danger continues to be something of concern. Our likely warmer weather pattern will continue, it looks like, through the beginning of March, as does a likely drier weather pattern with a more favorable likely wetter pattern through the Pacific Northwest. So this is starting that transition phase where we're seeing less in the way of those active Pacific storms coming in through California, and those more so going to the north of us here by the end of February, beginning of March. Pretty historically steady pattern that we see at this point in the season. Our forecast for tomorrow, highs in the 40s for the Sierra. We're in the 50s and low 60s down the hill after a chilly start to the day, 30s to near 40. Again, patchy fog problematic mostly in the Central Valley. So for the Bay Area, mix of sun and clouds. Our highs in the low to mid 60s. Morning lows starting off around 40 to 45 degrees. Central Valley locations, we're going to start it off with patchy morning fog and then partial afternoon clearing. Keep in mind, we're going to see the leading edge of that next weather system moving in later in the day. So just partly sunny skies ahead for our Tuesday as folks head back to work and school. Ahead for Wednesday, it's a mix of sun and clouds as well as that precipitation moving through. Snow level about 6,500 feet. We're dry for the weekend and warming. That is true as well for the foothills. A quick moving chance of showers on Wednesday, and then it's right back to the dry and warming weather ahead for this upcoming weekend. For the coast, chance of early morning showers, and then things will be drying out, warming up by Saturday. Bay Area looking at highs in the mid 60s. So we have that slight chance of showers coming in on Wednesday, mostly from I-80 northward for that forecast. And then we'll start to dry things out and warm it up by Sunday, high of 71 for parts of the valley. Tuesday follows up with another warm day there at 72. Average highs about the mid 60s right now. So we're going to bump that up as we head towards the end of the work week and into the weekend.